They can always be the second man. They can always be the second man.
Her zaman ikinci adam olabilirler.
Are you the monthly warrior? Are you a monthly warrior?
Aylık savaşçısı mısın?
Weren't we financiers before at 5 a.m.? Before 5 at midnight financier not generalization?
Daha önce gece yarısı 5'te finansör değil genelleme.
Are there relatives inspectors? Protector of relatives?
Akrabaları koruyucusu mu?
Were you the manager then? Were you the manager then?
Müdür müydün o zaman?
Shouldn't I conclude at dawn? Shouldn't I conclude at dawn?
Şafakta sonuçlanmamalı mıyım?
Your half-brother is the ranger. Your half-brother is the ranger.
Üvey kardeşin korucu.
Is your grandson an analyst? Is your grandson an analyst?
Torununuz analist mi?
Was her half-sister a songwriter? Does his half-sister write lyrics?
Üvey kız kardeşi söz yazar mı?
They would listen. Listen.
Dinledi.
Should rarely be a manager. Must be a side manager.
Yan yönetici olmalıdır.
You don't get off the ship after one night. You don't get off the ship after one night.
Bir gece sonra gemiden inmezsin.
Next year trader. Next year trader.
Gelecek yıl tüccarı.
Weren't you the manager right away? Isn't he the manager right away?
Hemen müdür değil mi?
He couldn't speak normally. He couldn't speak normally.
Normal bir şekilde konuşamazdı.
Did you say noon? Did you say noon?
Öğlen mi dedin?
He wouldn't be a consultant next year. He wouldn't be his advisor next year.
Gelecek yıl danışmanı olmayacaktı.
Was her grandmother a songwriter? Does his grandmother write lyrics?
Büyükannesi söz yazar.
Don't I wake up after 3 weeks? Don't I wake up after 3 weeks?
3 hafta sonra uyanmıyor muyum?
Is our grandfather an assistant? Is our grandfather an assistant?
Dedemiz asistan mı?
Grandson's nanny. Grandson's nanny.
Torunun dadı.
Did our grandfather draw? Does your grandfather draw?
Dedemiz çizer mi?
Is our spouse a locksmith? Is our spouse a locksmith?
Eşimiz çilingir mi?
Your cousins were rowers. Your cousins were rowers.
Kuzenlerin kürekçiydi.
We cannot deny. We cannot deny.
İnkar edemeyiz.
His wife is an anesthesiologist. His wife is an anesthesiologist.
Karısı anestezisti.
Aren't they nanny? Aren't they nanny?
Dadı değiller mi?
Are his siblings rulers? Are his siblings rulers?
Kardeşleri yönetici mi?
Our grandmother was a waitress. Our grandmother's waitress.
Annemiz garsonu.
I can create. I am creative.
Yaratıcıyım.
Did he thank you at dusk? Did he thank you at dusk?
Alacakaranlıkta teşekkür etti mi?
You cannot meet. You cannot meet.
Görüşemezsin.
Would he be an athlete every year? Will there be an athlete every year?
Her yıl atlet olur mu?
Is her brother-in-law the owner? Is her brother-in-law the owner?
Kayınbiraderi ev sahibi mi?
His grandfather was a janitor. His grandfather was a janitor.
Dedesi kapıcıydı.
Can he do groceries later? Can he do groceries later?
Daha sonra manavlık yapabilir mi?
Doesn't it pass? Doesn't it pass?
Geçmiyor mu?
Are your grandparents the announcers? Are your grandparents spikers?
Büyükannen ve büyükbaban smaçör mü?
His grandfather was a janitor. His grandfather was a janitor.
Dedesi kapıcıydı.
It should last. It should last.
Sürmesi gerekir.
It should last. It should last.
Sürmesi gerekir.
It was connecting now. It was connecting now.
Şimdi bağlanıyordu.
You're going to be a weekly athlete. You're going to be a weekly athlete.
Haftalık atlet yapacaksın.
He became governor 3 seconds ago. It took effect 3 seconds ago.
3 saniye önce geçerli oldu.
Wouldn't it help? Doesn't it help?
Yardım etmez mi?
Are our cousins founders? Are our cousins founders?
Kuzenlerimiz kurucu mu?
It wasn't a climb. It wasn't a climb.
Tırmanış değildi.
Was to meet. Was to meet.
Tanışmak mıydı?
Should I dive right now? Should I dive right now?
Hemen dalmalı mıyım?
Doesn't he drink? Doesn't he drink?
İçmiyor mu?
I should not return. I should not return.
Dönmemeliyim.
Our grandmother is a sports reporter. Our grandmother is a sports reporter.
Büyükannemiz spor muhabiri.
It cannot be broken. It cannot be broken.
Kırılamaz.
Won't you fix? Uncorrectable wrong.
Düzelmez yanlış.
Are we building now? Being built now?
Şimdi inşa ediliyor.
Will that fisherman be 10 years? Oh fisherman, will it be 10 years?
Ey balıkçı 10 yıl olur mu?
Isn't he always a philosopher? Isn't he always a philosopher?
Her zaman filozof değil mi?
Shouldn't they be rowing soon? Shouldn't they be rowing soon?
Yakında kürekleri çekmeleri gerekmiyor mu?
Are they commanding after 4 centuries? Are they commanding after 4 centuries?
4 asır sonra mı komuta ediyorlar?
After 2 weeks we may not be long sailors. After 2 weeks we may not be long sailors.
2 hafta sonra uzun denizci olamayabiliriz.
Your friend is the installer. Friend's tools.
Arkadaşın araçları.
There may not be a courier at dusk. There may not be a courier at dusk.
Alacakaranlıkta kurye olmayabilir.
Was my father a chef? Dad chief?
Babam şefi.
May not suppress. May not suppress.
Bastırmayabilir.
Was produced every day. We are produced every day.
Her gün üretiliyoruz.
Were their uncles senators? Were their uncles senators?
Amcaları senatör müydü?
His wife was a cardiologist. His wife was a cardiologist.
Karısı kardiyologdu.
Is their spouse a developer? Is their spouse a developer?
Eşleri geliştirici mi?
We will change. We will change.
Değiştireceğiz.
Was my father a chef? Dad chief?
Babam şefi.
Won't they suffer every week? Won't they suffer every week?
Her hafta acı çekmeyecekler mi?
Was he a fireman then? Then firefighter prison?
O zaman itfaiyeci hapishanesi.
Shouldn't he hold? Should he hold?
Tutmalı mı?
Is his colleague a philosopher? Is his colleague a philosopher?
Meslektaşı filozof mu?
They could not measure. They could not measure.
Ölçemediler.
I shouldn't touch. I shouldn't touch.
Dokunmamalıyım.
Must buy. Must buy.
Satın almak gerekir.
He shouldn't be dealing with her at noon. He shouldn't be concerned when it's noon.
Öğle vakti geldiğinde ilgilenmemeli.
You were not nervous. Was not nervous.
Gergin değildi.
Couldn't he be a golfer a century from now? Couldn't he be a golfer a century from now?
Bir asır sonra golfçu olamaz mı?
They won't be out soon. They don't come close.
Yakın çıkarmazlar.
A physiologist a century later, right? A physiologist a century later, right?
Bir asır sonra fizyolog değil mi?
It is not prompted after 1 second. It is not prompted after 1 second.
Bir saniye sonra istenmez.
He is married. He is developing.
O gelişiyor.
Was his father the weatherman? As her father's weatherman?
Babasının hava durumu sunucusu olarak mı?
We have to be receptionists often. We must be welcoming often.
Sık sık karşılamacı olmalıyız.
It can wait. It can wait.
Bekleyebilir.
He may come. Won't be.
Olamayacak.
Can't he be a porter at noon? Can't he be a porter at noon?
Öğle vakti kapıcı olamaz mı?
We can't be editors in the twilight. We can't be editors in the twilight.
Alacakaranlıkta editör olamayız.
Wasn't it fear? Isn't fear interesting?
Korku enteresan değil mi?
Will he write? Will he write?
Yazacak mı?
He introduces. He introduces.
O tanıştırıyor.
Our friend is the manager. Our friend is the manager.
Arkadaşımız müdürü.
Is your daughter a botanist? Is your daughter a botanist?
Kızınız botanikçi mi?
Didn't he attack 5 years ago? Didn't he attack 5 years ago?
5 yıl önce saldırmadı mı?
After 3 years we are not scientists. In 3 years, we will not be scientists.
3 yıl sonra adamı bilim olmayacağız.
Shouldn't he invent every day? Shouldn't he invent every day?
Her gün icat etmesi gerekmez mi?
We'll analyze after a week. We'll analyze after a week.
Bir hafta sonra analiz yapacak.
I wouldn't be a sports reporter every year. I wouldn't be a sports reporter every year.
Her yıl spor muhabirliği yapmazdım.
Is her grandmother an acrobat? Is her grandmother an acrobat?
Büyükannesi akrobat mı?
You will collect garbage from time to time. You will collect garbage from time to time.
Ara sıra çöp toplayacaksın.
I'll bake at dawn. We'll put it in the oven at dawn.
Şafakta fırına vereceğiz.
We had not been in intensive care for a weekend before. He had not been in intensive care for a weekend before.
Daha önce bir hafta sonu yoğun bakımda değildi.
Is it implied occasionally? Is it implied occasionally?
Ara sıra mı ima ediliyor?
There may not be a courier at dusk. There may not be a courier at dusk.
Alacakaranlıkta kurye olmayabilir.
They became dealers last year. They became dealers last year.
Geçen yıl bayi oldular.
Can I ask? Can I ask?
Rica edebilir miyim?
Were your grandchildren servants? Do your grandchildren carry the butler?
Torunlarınız uşak taşımak.
Don't we need to wash dishes often? Don't we need to wash dishes often?
Sık sık bulaşık yıkamamız gerekmez mi?
Will clean. Will clean.
Temizleyecek.
Was her sister a farmer? Did her sister farmer enter?
Ablası çiftçi girdi mi?
My neighbor was a firefighter. My neighbor was a firefighter.
Komşum itfaiyeciydi.
Are your family tailors? Are your family tailors?
Ailen terzi mi?
I shouldn't be a neurologist in 5 hours. After 5 hours, the neurologist should not be.
5 saat sonra nörolog olmamalıdır.
Can't he usually be a musician? Can't he usually be a musician?
Genelde müzisyen olamaz mı?
Can we behave? Can we behave?
Davranabilir miyiz?
Have they lost a weekend before? Have they lost a weekend before?
Daha önce bir hafta sonu mu kaybettiler?
Should I diversify? Should I diversify?
Çeşitlendirmemeli miyim?
Did he not agree from time to time? Did he not agree from time to time?
Ara sıra razı olmadı mı?
Weren't they binding last year? Weren't they binding last year?
Geçen yıl bağlayıcı değiller mi?
Our husband was the minister. Our husband was the minister.
Eşimiz bakandı.
He does not create. He does not create.
O yaratmaz.
They have to negotiate after a century. They have to negotiate after a century.
Bir asır sonra müzakere etmek zorundadırlar.
We can't be dietitians next year. We can't be dietitians next year.
Seneye diyetisyen olamayız.
We destroy every day. We destroy every day.
Her gün yok ediyoruz.
Can't I usually be a foreman? Can't I be a foreman to use?
Kullanmayı ustabaşı olamaz mıyım?
Can't I have a groceries right now? Will I be a grocer right away?
Hemen manav olacak mıyım?
They should not start after 5 weeks. They should not start after 5 weeks.
5 hafta sonra başlamamalıdırlar.
Is her aunt the babysitter? Is her aunt the babysitter?
Teyzesi bebek bakıcısı mı?
Are they filmmakers every day? Are they movie makers every day?
Onlar her gün film yapımcıları mı?
Encouraged. Encouraged.
Teşvik etti.
Does it sit every year? Does it sit every year?
Her sene mi oturuyor?
10 years can be a sailor. 10 years can be a sailor.
10 yıl denizci olabilir.
Should not be supported. Should not be supported.
Desteklememesi gerekir.
Couldn't apply next year. Couldn't apply next year.
Gelecek yıl başvuramadı.
Your parents are air traffic controllers. Family air traffic controller.
Aile hava trafik kontrolörü.
Are they burned? Are they burned?
Yanmışlar mı?
Are his siblings a grocer? Are his siblings a grocer?
Kardeşleri bakkal mı?
His grandchildren are truck drivers. His grandchildren are truck drivers.
Torunları kamyon şoförüdür.
Should he become a consultant right away? Should he become a consultant right away?
Hemen danışman mı olmalı?
Was my stepmother the dean? Is my stepmother the dean?
Üvey annem dekan mı?
My neighbor is a soldier. My neighbor is a soldier.
Komşum asker.
Shouldn't he be a senator in 3 years? Shouldn't he be a senator in 3 years?
3 yıl sonra senatör olması gerekmiyor mu?
Is your grandfather a bartender? Is your grandfather a bartender?
Deden barmen mi?
His half-sisters were messengers. His half-sisters were messengers.
Üvey kız kardeşleri haberciydi.
Can you take daily notes? Can I get a diary?
Günlük alabilir mi?
Were their uncles senators? Were their uncles senators?
Amcaları senatör müydü?
It can wait at noon. It can wait at noon.
Öğlen bekleyebilir.
You can apply every day. You can apply every day.
Her gün başvurabilir.
Shouldn't I be a businesswoman soon? Shouldn't I be getting a job soon?
Yakında iş yaptırmamalı mıyım?
We'd be magicians in 4 seconds. After 4 seconds he will become a mage.
4 saniye sonra büyücü olacak.
His family is a pilot. Pilot family.
Pilot ailesi.
You will breastfeed once a month. You will order once a month.
Ayda bir emir vereceksin.
Wouldn't the blacksmith be 10 years? Isn't the blacksmith 10 years old?
Demirci 10 yıl olmaz mı?
Can we add? Should we use?
Kullanmalı mıyız?
Should throw. Should throw.
Atmalıdır.
Weren't we busy at dawn? Isn't it to spread out at dawn?
Şafakta yayılmak değil mi?
Do they comment annually? Do they comment annually?
Yıllık mı yorumluyorlar?
Truck driver after 4 nights? Truck driver after 4 nights?
4 akşam sonra kamyon şoförü mü?
Was our grandfather a fireman? Our grandfather's fireman's cage?
Dedemiz itfaiyeci kafesi.
Rarely can it tick? Rarely can it tick?
Nadiren işaretleyebilir mi?
Our brother is an apprentice. Our brother is an apprentice.
Kardeşimiz çırak.
We will include earlier. Previously included slogan.
Daha önce dahi sloganı.
You can't fish often. You can't fish often.
Sık sık balık tutamazsınız.
They are night watchmen at dusk. They are night watchmen at dusk.
Alacakaranlıkta gece bekçileridir.
My wife was a sailor. I was a sailor.
Ben denizciydi.
1 minute later they are the magistrates. After 1 minute they are the magistrates.
1 dakika sonra sulh hakimidirler.
After 5 evenings, he cannot object. After 5 evenings, he cannot object.
5 akşam sonra itiraz edemez.
We can publish in 1 afternoon. We can publish after 1 birth.
Bir doğumdan sonra yayınlayabiliriz.
Translator 2 minutes ago. Translator 2 minutes ago.
2 dakika önce tercüman.
Rarely am I not an agent? Rarely am I not an agent?
Nadiren ajan değil miyim?
Can we behave? Can we behave?
Davranabilir miyiz?
Our colleague was a chemist. Our colleague was a chemist.
Meslektaşımız kimyagerdi.
His cousins were bakers. His cousins were bakers.
Kuzenleri fırıncıydı.
Don't we throw tiles every week? Don't they throw tiles every week?
Her hafta kiremit atmıyorlar mı?
Isn't there a proxy at night? Isn't there a proxy at night?
Gece vakti vekil olmaz mı?
It should return after 2 seconds. It should return after 2 seconds.
2 saniye sonra geri dönmelidir.
Shouldn't be gardening for 10 years. Shouldn't be gardening for 10 years.
10 yıl bahçıvanlık yapmamalı.
I shouldn't touch. I shouldn't touch.
Dokunmamalıyım.
Can he draw in an hour? Can he draw in an hour?
1 saat sonra çizebilir mi?
Does it always have to be a physiologist? Does it always have to be a physiologist?
Hep fizyolog olmak zorunda mı?
You can get points last year. You can get points last year.
Geçen yıl puan alabilirsin.
Was he the night watchman next year? Next year night watchman Bo?
Seneye gece bekçisi yay.
You should give. You should give.
Vermelisin.
Don't I prove it every week? Don't I prove it every week?
Her hafta kanıtlamıyor muyum?
Wakes up. Wakes up.
Uyanır.
He wouldn't complain. He wouldn't complain.
Şikayet etmezdi.
Can check now. Can try now.
Şimdi deneyebilir.
His brothers were swimmers. Was a swimmer.
Aşınma yüzücüydü.
Do you not recommend after 4 months? Do you not recommend after 4 months? Does it improve? Development?
Geliştirme mi?
Can become a journeyman immediately. Can become a journeyman immediately.
Hemen kalfalık yapabilir.
Was our grandmother a tailor? Our grandmother is a tailor?
Annemiz terzi.
It won't cream after a second. It won't cream after a second.
1 saniye sonra krema yapmayacak.
Is his son a travel agent? Is his son a travel agent?
Oğlu seyahat acentesi mi?
Wasn't he the postman every month? Isn't it the postman every month?
Her ay postacı değil mi?
Your uncle is the bartender. Your uncle is the bartender.
Amcan barmen.
His friends were scientists. His friend was a scientist.
Arkadaşı bilim adamıydı.